Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're making focaccia bread, but not real focaccia. We're making faux-caccia bread because we're cheating, and it's gonna be delicious and it's gonna be easy and fast, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire, welcome, come on in. This channel has a lot of convenience cooking because sometimes you gotta cheat a little and you want an easy meal or snack or whatnot, so definitely subscribe if you like convenience. Today I am making focaccia. I love focaccia bread. I've made it a lot of times in the traditional way. I've done like a potato focaccia. I've used lots of different recipes. Usually it's a little bit time consuming. A lot of times you have to let the dough rest overnight. You have to obviously make your own dough, and there's a lot of ingredients and a lot of waiting and all of that. So when I saw someone on TikTok using yeast frozen rolls to make a focaccia, I was like, I gotta try this. I gotta see if it's as good as the ones that I labor over for an insane amount of time. So these are actually Kroger brand, ready to bake, original yeast dinner rolls. There are 36 rolls in here. We won't use all of them, and this was like $6 for the bag. So if you didn't already have all of the ingredients to make a focaccia, you would definitely spend more than $6 to get like your yeast and your flour and all of that. So I think it's a pretty good deal generally if you're wanting to impress everyone with a freshly baked loaf of bread. So even though this doesn't require an overnight refrigeration, it still will take quite a few hours for these to thaw and rise, just like you would. On the directions on the back, it's super easy. So let's go for it. Let's try this focaccia and see if it stands up to the real deal. All right, to start us off here, I am greasing a 9 by 13. This is a stone, but you know, use whatever dish you got. And I ended up doing 24 of these little rolls. I'm going to cover it with some plastic wrap. I went ahead and sprayed one side of it because I wasn't sure how big these were going to get, and I would hate to have everything be super sticky. So I just did that as a precaution, and I am kind of glad I did because they did get pretty large. And it's super hot today. I'm leaving these right on the counter for 4 hours. And while that's happening, I am actually going to use herbs from my own garden just because my herb garden is wild this year. So I have selected rosemary and basil as my toppings, but seriously, you can get so creative with this bread. I'm also using Parmesan and I'm using salt and pepper. People love to use onions and cherry tomatoes and all sorts of spices. So, you know, spice it the way your heart tells you. And I'm going to grease my fingers and like seriously look how puffy those got. And this is that signature kind of move that you do with a focaccia where you take all of your fingers and you sort of, I've heard online that it's called playing the piano on the dough. And it creates all these little dimples and these little bubbles, and that's going to give it its signature texture. Now I'm not measuring this at all because when it comes to olive oil, one measures with their heart. And I'm just pouring it all over. I'm filling all those little indents with olive oil. I would say it was maybe half a cup if I had to guess. Now I am putting some freshly ground black pepper on there, as well as some sea salt, freshly ground sea salt. And now I am just going to place all of my herbs around. Seriously, after this video, just Google focaccia art because people have done some seriously impressive things with what they put on their focaccia. They make like flowers and trees and all sorts of amazing stuff. Leave me a comment down below if you want me to try to do some art one day on a traditional focaccia because, you know, I'm down with that. And so I threw my herbs on there, and now I'm just going to put a little bit of Parmesan on top. And she's ready to go in the oven. Now this oven is set at 350 degrees. I started with 20 minutes, which was recommended in the recipe, but it needed probably 5 more. And here it is. It definitely didn't get as like golden brown. However, it was definitely done all the way through. So it does not get as crispy as a traditional focaccia does, but this is how I always do mine in the end. I know not everyone adds the extra oil, but I like to add more spices at the end. This is just Italian seasoning. It's almost like when you would dip bread in oil and spices, except I'm just putting it directly on top. Now I went to cut this in the way I would normally do it. However, it just pulled right apart. The rolls very much kept their shape. And you can see now that it's like all the way cooked through, but it's just not crispy. It's definitely like spongy and fluffy. I think these would make delicious little sliders. You could maybe put a meatball in there. That's a great idea. So I decided to plate these by pulling them all apart, adding a few sprigs of rosemary just because I'm a fancy lady. And there you go. Super easy. All right, you guys, here is the Faux-Caccia. And before I even take a bite, it's definitely super different than a traditional Focaccia. It's very like soft and fluffy. It definitely does not have that signature crisp outside that you look for in a Focaccia. However, even though it is behaving more like a Focaccia style pull apart bread, if I actually had to name this recipe, I would call it that, because that is basically what it is. They're still rolls at the end of the day, and they are light and fluffy the way rolls are. However, the smells I'm getting, very Focaccia. So maybe, you know, it's like a blend. Focaccia style pull apart rolls. I don't know, but I'm sure they will still be delicious. And also, what a beautiful thing to serve for your guests if you're having a barbecue, or if you need to bring rolls or a dish to pass. If you are the person in charge of this, if you brought this, especially if you displayed it with some little sprigs and made it look really nice, everyone in your life would be like, well, dang, good job. All right, obviously we still have to do a taste test though. Oh my gosh, yum. Okay, so I mean, essentially it's still a dinner roll. I mean, I was right. But it's so much more delicious than a regular dinner roll. Having all of that olive oil in there really negates any need to throw butter on there, and it's really enhanced the flavor. I love the Parmesan on top. I'll be doing that again no matter what type of Focaccia I'm making. I think the Parm was a really good addition. Overall, I think this recipe is delicious. And I love this idea of sort of like Focaccia style something. Maybe we should make Focaccia style bagels? Crescent rolls? I don't know. Let's cover everything in spices and olive oil and see how it turns out. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!